Ramadan during school year. So about, I think 4 years ago, Ramadan started to be happening during school year. And Ramadan is a whole month that Muslim, I would say, practice and observe. So it's a month and really it needs a lot of time, energy. So we really need to work around that month if you have any Muslim students or Muslim colleagues in your building. That's why I thought about this workshop would be helpful for educators, especially I think we have a really decent Muslim population in Mass. So I will start with my agenda for today. I just need to close some tabs. So we're going to start with introduction about Ramadan, some facts and around fasting and around the month, and talking about suggested accommodation for Muslim students and families and Muslim colleagues. And the last part of our workshop will be around Q&A time, where you will be able to ask any question that comes into your mind, and I will be happy to answer those questions. So let's first start with an introduction about Ramadan and what is Ramadan. So if you don't know, or if you know a little information about Ramadan, Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, and it's observed by Muslims worldwide as a very specific occasion and very special month. It's considered a holy month, not a holiday. And that's a very, very common misconception that's usually in school calendars or usually like people say Ramadan is a holiday. It's not. It's a very important and a holy month that Muslims observe, but it's not a holiday. Muslims have only two other holidays, which I will mention their names later. But Ramadan, as I said, is a very specific occasion. It's a holy month that Muslims observe. Ramadan is the month in which Quran, which is Muslim holy book, first revealed. In Ramadan, Muslims usually focus on prayer, fasting, giving charity, religious devotion, and extra worship. Ramadan is considered one of the most highest time where Muslims start together, meet one another, and visit mosque and do many and variety of community services. So that's a very, very quick outline about Ramadan as a month and some facts. Now let's talk about how Muslims fast. And it's another misconception that I always hear and observe. So usually Muslims fast by abstaining from eating and drinking from dawn to dusk every day for the entire month. And when I say an entire month, Ramadan is usually either 29 days or 30 days based on some calculation. So Muslim will just not drink or fast from dawn until dusk for those 29 or either 30 days. However, young children, pregnant women, sick Muslim or Muslim on medication or traveling are exempt from fasting. So they can do it later or they can pay money like charity instead of fasting because they have an excuse. It's interesting that fasting not happen only in Islam. There are other religions which reinforce fasting. And you can always hear from Jews, your Jewish friends, Catholic friends, or other that they have also some sort of fasting in their religion. So it's happening in at least 6 other major religious beliefs and creeds. Some recent researches also promote that fasting has multiple benefits. I will not go over that list, but Muslims are really like kind of believe that fasting is also important for their overall health benefit, like it can regulate regulate blood pressure, regulate blood sugar levels, and also can help in delaying aging. So we believe that fasting has also some kind of medical benefits that we can use. And now the important question, like why Muslim fast Ramadan? Especially it's kind of like a lengthy day. And this year it will be around 3 a.m. until 7 p.m. So it's really a kind of lengthy day with no food or water, but definitely there are major reasons that makes Muslim fast Ramadan. Number one, fasting Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. So which is mean is very important to be done by an adult who is Muslim. Fasting is an exercise for self-control, self-regulation, and also feeling the poor and needy. Muslims believe that fasting is a way to physically and spiritually purify ourselves. And also Ramadan is a very spiritual time for Muslims, and often they usually invite one another, and there is a great sense of generosity and forgiveness during this month. In 2021, the first day of Ramadan will be around for April 12th. And when I say the word around, because based on some moon sighting, that day is determined. Usually there are some calculation ahead of time, which is April 12th, but if the day before Ramadan, like the day before April 12th, said that Ramadan should start on April 11th instead, Muslim will fast on April 11th based on moon sighting. So again, it will be around April 12th this year. It's very important to understand if you have Muslim student or Muslim family or Muslim colleague, how their typical day in Ramadan looks like. So you understand that kind of dynamic. So besides school, work, errands, and chores, Muslims usually will eat a light meal before dawn, which we call it suhoor. Muslims usually break their fast at sunset, and this year the sunset time will be around 7 p.m. And breaking fast means eating and drinking, no restrictions. However, Islam is prohibiting eating pork products and consuming alcoholic beverages. It's common that Muslim families gather to break their fast, and definitely due to COVID pandemic, that's not the case now. But before COVID pandemic, usually you will find at least 2 or 3 families gather every day to break their fast. Sometimes also Muslims used to go before the COVID pandemic to mosque to break their fast, to have more gathering and more congregation during that time. Also, Muslims perform night prayers, which called Taraweeh. And Taraweeh usually happens around 8:30 p.m. After like breaking fast by 1.5 hours. Taraweeh is a kind of lengthy prayer. It can take about an hour or two at night. Ramadan is always such a really busy day for Muslims, but usually it sounds and feel festive. So I have to tell you, I always like as a Muslim, and I know many of my Muslim friends, we always wait for Ramadan because although we have to do many things during that month, but it always brings joy and really blessings to us. Now, here is our holiday. So Muslims usually celebrate 2 holidays per year. They call Eid. One of them called Eid al-Fitr and the other called Eid al-Adha. So I will be highlighting Eid al-Fitr because at the end of Ramadan, Muslims celebrate one of the major holidays, which is called Eid al-Fitr. It's only one day. So once we finish Ramadan, the following day is called Eid al-Fitr, which is our holiday. And it's usually the festival of breaking fast. In this day, children traditionally will receive new clothes, money, gifts from parents, relatives, and friends. Usually on the Eid day, a very special prayer happening in the morning and followed by a community celebration. And this community celebration happens usually in a park or large halls with a variety of activities for adults and children. Again, due to COVID pandemic, this is not happening now since last year. But before that, it's usually like a really gigantic gathering. You can always find Southern Muslim gathering and having that kind of celebration. In 2021, the holiday, which Eid al-Fitr, will be held roughly on May 13th. And I have to give you a very fun fact since I work in Cambridge. Cambridge is the only public schools here in Mass which takes that day off. Any questions? I will pause here before I go next. I will just take some question from the chat. If you have any questions, I will ask you to write it in the chat. I just have to open, yeah.
At the moment, there aren't any questions in the chat.
Okay.
Actually, there is one right now.
Yes.
At what age do children typically start to fast?
Yeah, I will address that question on the following slides. I like that important fact that it's important that I think Catherine said that it's important that we understand Ramadan shifts. So it takes place in different months of the year. Yes, I want actually to mention that because I didn't plan to say it during that presentation, but I like this actually important fact. So every year, again, based on the lunar calendar, which is the Islamic lunar calendar, Ramadan really shifts around 10 days ahead. Like this year, the tentative date for the first day of Ramadan will be April 12th. Next year, which should be 2022, the tentative day will be around April 1st or 2nd. So every year it will be shifting ahead by around 10 days or so. So you will have, like, probably since we are educators, we're going to see that Ramadan will be happening in school for the coming 10 or maybe even 10 plus years, because it will be shift to go to winter, then after that fall, and so on, so until it comes back to summer where students and Muslim staff will have their summer break. That's why it's really important to understand Ramadan and how, if you have a Muslim student or a Muslim colleague in your building, how you understand their day and how you can accommodate them if you can. I will also look at the chat if anyone has a specific question around the previous. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Cambridge has been taking Ramadan as a day. I'm sorry, not Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr as a day off since, I would say, I think since 2015. It's a recent like shift in their calendar. They want to address different religious holidays, and that's why they decided to put Eid al-Fitr as one of the holidays that they have to put in their calendar and to take it as a day off. I'm also reading another comment in the chat around MCAS. So I will also talk about it. We'll talk about MCAS and how it can interfere. As an adult, like I'm as a teacher, I will never feel like MCAS will interfere me as an adult while I'm fasting, because I will be doing like supervising work and so on. So I will just do my regular work. But as a child, some families will decide to ask their children to keep fasting and to just adjust to the fast while they are taking MCAS. Some families will ask their kids not to fast. I would definitely say it depends on the family preferences. But from the religious like view, if you are an adult, you have to fast and you have to just take your life and just practice your life as normal, because fast shouldn't be an obstacle for practicing your life. Yeah, we're going also to talk about accommodation and how you can assist your student, because it's actually a very important question. I'm reading the chat and how you are giving a lot of very good and insightful feedback. So we're going to really have a good chunk of our time to talk about accommodations, how you can assist your students, and also to brainstorm some ideas that you can bring, because I always believe adults and teachers are so smart enough to brainstorm the idea and figure out the best scenario for their students in general. So I will give you some time even to do it on your own, then I will give you my advice and suggested accommodation. There's also a question here in the chat: when fasting, can you drink water throughout the day? That's a really interesting question. I always have many people ask me this. No, we are cannot drink even water. We cannot drink anything. No drinking, no food from sunrise until sundown, which sunset. Do many Muslims get up around 3 a.m.? It's usually recommended. So many Muslim, yeah, there's a question about suhoor, which is the meal that we eat before starting fast, which is around 3 a.m. I would say many Muslim, yes, eat this meal, and it's recommended in our religion because it will give you a good energy, chunk of energy that you can consume all over your day. So definitely it's recommended. Not everyone is doing that, but I think as far as I know, most of my Muslim friends and Muslim students, they are doing that because again, it provides you with the energy that you need for the entire day. We're going to talk about sport. We're going to talk about accommodation. I will ask you now, we're going to watch a video, and then based on this video actually will be around accommodations and around maybe any kind of suggested assistance for Muslim students. So I will show you a video. It's about a typical Muslim family, which usually break their fast with their other Muslim families and have a nice gathering every night. And you will hear from the children around maybe their needs or around their overall reflection of fasting during school day. I'm also reading here, Sue is saying, last year during COVID, when we were remote, I had a middle school student use Ramadan as an excuse for not attending remote learning live classes. Yeah, that's a very interesting thing. And I also put actually in my slides, I want to talk about how is Ramadan is really a Ramadan a legit excuse to avoid work, or it's not. And I will explain it. It shouldn't be, and I will explain why. Even from a religious view, Ramadan shouldn't be an excuse. And it's actually from a religious view too, not only just like because I'm an educator, I want my students to do well, regardless their like maybe religious practice, we still want them to do well. But there is also a religious view around how you should be doing the work that you need. You should still put effort. Ramadan shouldn't be used anytime to be an excuse for work avoidance. So I will play the video. I want you to really listen to the kids when they talk about their own experiences during Ramadan and how it's affecting their learning and also sometimes their sport practices. So I will mute myself. And after the video, we're going to have a quick stretch break. Then we're going to resume our workshop. So just give me a second to mute myself. I'm sorry, I just need to mute myself first. Yes, here.
Heba, we can't hear anything. If you could just share your audio.
Okay, sure. I will share it. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a second. Could you try again because I just want to see. Okay, 1 second, Allison. I'll just stop sharing and I will paste the link. Should I paste the link in the chat?
So you could just easily, if you scroll up where you have the more options when you're sharing your screen, there's an option where it will let you share your audio. So once the video starts playing, everyone will hear it and you can mute yourself at the same time.
Okay, I will try to do this.
If you can't do it, we could just put it in the chat and then I'll just share my screen. That's fine.
Okay. Okay, so I will give you the link. Yes, I don't think it's, yeah, that's the one. So could you just,
This is the first food 14-year-old Ali and his family have had all day. They haven't had anything to eat or drink since sunrise this morning. It's because they're celebrating a special time of year in their religion called Ramadan. Ali is a Muslim, which means he follows the religion of Islam. During the month of Ramadan, most Muslim people do something called fasting. That means they don't eat or drink anything between sunrise and sunset for a whole month. They can't even drink water through the day. It's pretty tough, but for people like Ali, it's a really important part of his religion.
It's just to feel how the poor people feel. You know, they don't get to have a lot of water and food, so that's what it's about. To test, yeah.
Just like other religions, Islamic people have certain times of the year to celebrate their faith, and Ramadan is one of them. During that month, they spend more time thinking about their religion, kind of like Christmas or Easter for Christians, or Rosh Hashanah for Jewish people. During Ramadan, Muslim people learn more about the Islamic religion by reading from their religious book, which is called the Quran. And the fasting is to help them focus on that. Each year, Ramadan starts on a slightly different date, because the name Ramadan is actually the name of a month in the Islamic calendar. And that calendar is a little bit different because it's based on the cycles of the moon. Although many Muslims don't eat or drink through the day during Ramadan, they do have some extra big meals before dawn and after sunset. Because having no food or water at all for a whole month would be impossible. But even with these big meals, Ali says Ramadan can still be pretty hard.
It's a little bit hard, especially if you have, like, sometimes we have football games and yeah, we still play, but yeah, we don't drink water.
And he and his cousins say going to school can be tricky too.
Usually my friends come with these amazing lunches from like different places, and then I'm like in the classroom and they're all eating their lunch in recess, and I'm like, you know, waiting for the bell to go and stuff, so that's probably the hardest part.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard. I get hungry really easily, so.
I haven't told anyone about it because I moved to this new school and I haven't fasted there yet. Tomorrow will be my first day fasting at my new school.
Around the world, there are more than 1.6 billion Muslim people. That's almost 1/4 of the world's population. But not all of them fast during Ramadan. People who are pregnant, elderly, or people who are sick often don't. And kids only start doing it after they've reached puberty. But some do practice fasting before then, often just for a few days. Ali has been fasting for Ramadan since he was 10, and he says it's a bit easier this time.
Oh, it was really hard back then. You get more used to it.
And although it's a tough month, these guys love learning about their religion. And it doesn't hurt that there's a big party called Eid when the month wraps up.
At the end we get this big celebration, we go to the mosque and do like our morning prayer and stuff like that, and it's like really fun to meet up with family and stuff.
Well, there's a lot of food, we're allowed to eat, yeah, so, and there's rides and it's a lot of fun.
Ramadan can be a real challenge, but these guys wouldn't have it any other way.
so I'm just saying, I hope you enjoyed this video because it shows a typical time during iftar, which is breaking our fast, and how families used to gather. Definitely that's before the COVID era. And also how some kids may have some kind of struggle around lunchtime or sports in general. So we want now to talk, we now got the idea about Ramadan, the nature of the month, how Muslims observe the month, and how is their day in general, besides school, work, errands, and chores. There are some different themes that happening during every day in Ramadan. So now we want to think about how we can accommodate our Muslim students and Muslim colleagues, because I believe that most of you here have some Muslim students that they will encounter every single year. You may have some Muslim colleagues as well, and you really need to show them that you are thoughtful, that you understand the nature of the month that they will observe. And it's coming soon, it's coming around April 12th. So I would love first to hear from you, because I believe that usually teachers are so smart adults who can think creatively around different ideas for a certain dilemma or a certain topic. So I would give you first the time to voice and brainstorm some ideas before I will give you some suggested ideas based on my own experience, and also based on a survey that I conducted recently, and some of my Muslim students' families and in my school and beyond took that survey and gave me their feedback as well. So I will have a Padlet. I would love each of you, I will paste the link in the chat here, and I will love each of you to just write a sticky note around something that you can do, an accommodation that you can provide for your Muslim students or Muslim colleagues during this month. So here is the Padlet. And please start, let's see your creativity around those ideas. I'm reading everyone's creative ideas. I'm really, it's such fascinating how I can see people are getting so many smart accommodations and smart idea that they can implement and embed it in their building. I'm really so happy about how you are really thinking of all those smart and creative ideas. I will ask you keep please writing your thoughts because this patent is really, I would say, is such an asset because it comes from educators who are smart and who can brainstorm idea to support their Muslim students and Muslim colleagues. I want to highlight some ideas here. One was about inform, where offer student or family the option of presenting to inform the class about their practices. That's a really a good educational practice. And it could happen in any class. It could happen maybe in ELA, math, social studies, art, any class. You can definitely provide a student or a Muslim student a time and their families to just present briefly to their classmates around their practices, around how Ramadan is happening. Also, I like about praising them on their strength. And that's actually a very important, I would say, social, emotional support, where you will show them, okay, you really respect their religion and you respect what they are doing around this practice. And you want to give them that kind of like motivation that they can continue fasting while doing their work as students. So I love that as well. Educate ourselves, have a PD for staff to understand. Definitely, that's also a very important thing. Like usually for me, since I'm the only Muslim staff in my building, usually I will do that quick PD for my staff around Ramadan to just give them again a refreshing idea about what's happening, Q&A time for staff if they have any question, and offering support. So definitely staff always need to know this, especially as I mentioned, Ramadan is happening during school year for this year and the coming 10 years and up. So it's important to understand the dynamic of this month and how Muslim students and families and Muslim colleagues are practicing and need our support. Flexibility. Flexibility is very important term around Ramadan because although I would definitely encourage you as an educator to encourage your student to do their work to their best capacity, I will also ask you for some flexibility around maybe the deadline, the due dates for the assignment, just in case if they got stuck or if they didn't have enough time. Flexibility will show them also that they care about their academic progress, yet you care about their religious practices, which is also a very important part of your work as an educator. Prayer and quiet space. Yeah, this actually is a very important one because I will mention in the coming slides around Dhuhr prayer. So some Muslim students will ask you to pray during school day, especially in Ramadan. And I will explain how this will happen, how long it takes, and so on. But thanks for bringing this up as well. I also will talk about library resources. There's here a comment or an idea around ensure information is available in library, both for Muslim students or who are practicing and for non-Muslim students and staff who want to know more. Definitely, it's important for us as educator and school system to provide resources, which is a very important part of our work and our daily commitments. Accommodations. It was also very important to providing lunch, accommodation, or a safe place to wait until lunch is over to avoid questions from peers or connect with other Muslim students. That's a very crucial thing because I can see a lot of Muslim students feel isolated during Ramadan because, again, they don't want to be in the lunchroom. Definitely is hard. And they don't want to be alone alone in a place where they have to sit during lunchtime. So it's very smart that you can provide a space where they can spend their lunchtime, definitely a quiet space, but also connect them with someone, like could be a teacher, could be a pet, could be providing them with some like board games. So try to just make them feel that they are not alone and lonely during this time. Just try to make them, okay, it's a fun time for you. It's a maybe resting time for you because you don't want to be in cafeteria during lunch, but yet you will enjoy it. You may relax and rest. You may play some maybe board games. You may connect with a friend, a Muslim friend who is also fasting. You may connect with a teacher who has some free time. So it's important not to be isolated and alone during this time. And I would really appreciate if you plan with your team to make it happen. Private space, allowing private spaces for lunch, pray time, for silent getaway. Yes, it's really important around private space for lunch because, again, Muslim students will not eat lunch. They just need to be away from the lunchtime dynamic. So it's important to accommodate them with that space and also for prayer time, which I will talk about it soon as well. I'm so happy with all the ideas. I'm just scrolling down to read many fewer accommodation ideas around how you can support your Muslim student. And it's really such amazing ideas to implement. Staff awareness of holiday and important fasting. That's really crucial because it's important for Muslims to feel that you respect that month, specifically because, as I said, it's really a very special occasion and it's a holy month for Muslims. So you really need to show them that you understand what's happening and you are respecting their choice of practicing Ramadan and fasting and doing that. And also seeing Ramadan as a positive time of the year, because Muslims envision Ramadan as a very positive time where they have to do a lot to the community. Like we are encouraged as Muslims to do a lot of things for the community, like to pay donation, to help in community services. Like the more we are doing good deeds, the better we are feeling during Ramadan. So that's why also it's important, like for staff to have a good awareness around the month and also trying to see it as a positive time of the year for students, and while also providing them with some accommodation around lunchtime and around also physical activity like PE time. Some Muslim student will ask you to continue PE. That's fine. You can always make that connection and ask, do you want to do the PE? Like, do you want to practice sport during PE or do you want to rest? always give them the choice and make them choose, because that's how you are respecting them as students and as individuals who can make best choices of themselves. Here, there's a comment about COVID lunch accommodations. And I will read the comment because I like it too. I have been talking with other third grade teacher about having lunch outside, so that students who are done eating and have their masks on can just sit and talk. We cannot do that when students don't have their masks on inside. This would give students an option to be social instead of just sitting quietly and waiting for 25 minutes. Other eat, definitely. That's why I'm saying it's important really to plan smartly around how you can provide accommodation for Muslim students and make them feel they are not isolated. They have a positive experience during school time, and school is like staff, their teachers, and the school environment and ambience also giving them that kind of respect around their choice of practicing of religious practices and choice of fasting Ramadan. So I'm really appreciative of all of those great ideas. And I will go back to the slides and talk about the survey. So as I mentioned, I think 3 weeks ago, I created a survey, I conducted a survey, and the audience were some Muslim students that I have in my school and some Muslim families that I know beyond the school. And I asked them some questions about their experiences during Ramadan, and also maybe accommodations or needs that they may have during this month. If you look at the suggested accommodation, I just took some samples. The survey was actually completed by about maybe 25 students and around 45 families. So it was about 65 people plus. So I didn't put everything because it would be a very lengthy data, but I put some kind of like bullets here, which I found it common. I will just read the feedback that I got. So some families say allowing them to sit around her kids or their kids to sit in the library or other place in school during lunchtime, so they don't have to watch other people eat. Very similar to what you mentioned on the Padlet. Offer Muslim students a room to sit and have some activity in during lunchtime. Again, very similar to what you already brainstormed and displayed on Padlet. Offer engaging alternatives during lunchtime and gym if children decide to fast and opt out of attending them. Consideration about homework, and I will talk about it at the end, and extra help if needed. And one of the kids said, I want my teacher to put me in a space where I don't have to watch people eat in front of me. So those were some kind of like, again, samples of the feedback that I got from those Muslim students and their families. And I want to talk about consideration about homework. I want to emphasize a very important fact. Like as Muslim, Ramadan is a way that we have to be better to the community, better to ourselves, better to our parents, better to everyone. So part of our, I think part of Ramadan teachings is to persevere and to try your best, because fasting is perseverance. Like you are not eating, you are not drinking, you are trying to be good to people, you are trying to donate. So it's always around perseverance. So we are still expected, like Muslim students, to complete their academic commitments, like completing work, completing homework. But consideration about homework, which is what I was saying, you don't have to give them a very lengthy assignment. Like try to give them those assignments which are on target, like they meant a lot to you and they will not take too much time to complete. Like I would say 30-minute homework time every day will be doable, because since we break our fast, the time start to be very short. Like we break our fast around 7 p.m. And then we have some like night prayers. So, and then we have to go to bed also early because we have to go for school or work. So it's a very kind of like short day and tight. So I would say still give your students their academic commitments, expect from them to complete it. Just have some flexibility around the length of the assignment, and definitely some flexibility around deadline. Like you can still, again, talk to them, show them that you care about their academics, yet you care about their fasting and religious practices, but you want to make it happen in a nice way. So, and this always about also still building relationship with your students in general, and also Muslim students during Ramadan. Also provide extra help. I will always offer that as teacher for all of my students, and I will just try to again build some good connection with my Muslim students and say, okay, I know you will be fasting and you may need some extra help anytime. Feel free to connect with me. Just offering that extra help is really meant a lot to Muslim students because they know that you care and you understand that they are persevering on different level during this month, and you want to support their learning and education. So that was again suggested accommodation, and I have to tell you, already came with a lengthy list, which even go beyond those accommodations. Some comments and wonders that also families and Muslim students give me during the survey, and also some of them are very similar to what you mentioned on the Padlet. So if school could teach a glimpse of Ramadan as a unique occasion, that's what some of you already mentioned on Padlet. Like we really need to have some kind of good awareness in our building around what's Ramadan. We definitely need staff to understand the dynamic of the month, the nature of the month, and so on. So it could be nice, depending on one of the also parents, that it would be nice, depending on age and grade level, to have the student make a presentation about Ramadan. And I know also one of the educators here mentioned the same idea, which is also a very crucial idea. One of the parents said, my experience wasn't good at all in my kids' daycare. They celebrated everything except Muslim events. I wish this doesn't happen to other kids. And definitely that's part of our work, to be more inclusive, to be more welcoming to everyone, and to be more culture proficient. All of that kind of like our commitment and professional commitments make us feel, okay, we have to really be including and trying to be aware of all the celebrations and events and to address them. So it's a very good opportunity that we have. Ramadan is coming, and you can show how you can really address that kind of important holy month. I will not say a holiday again, holy month, and how it's really an important occasion for Muslims, which will be practicing this month for about 29 or 30 days. It's a kind of lengthy time. Another comment from parents said, one of my kids' teachers offered her office that had pet animals to my daughter all Ramadan to join during the lunch break. And that's still memorable time for my daughter after 6 years. Here is the deal. You cannot imagine how maybe a very simple thing like a teacher offering her office, which has some pets, to a Muslim child during lunchtime could be a memorable time for her forever, could be even forever. So that's why sometimes very little things could really make a remarkable memory for children. So try again to show respect and care, because always will be everlasting experiences for Muslim students. Make Ramadan fun experience for Muslim kids who have to go to school every day. Definitely, it's not easy, but it's still doable, just to try to make it a fun experience for them. So I will go to the next slides. I'm talking about some interesting figures that I also gathered. So that was a question actually was asked from one of my colleagues about, okay, we need to know the Muslim population in mass. There is no accurate figure because, as you know, we are a secular country. We don't put like religious beliefs in like censuses data or so on. So, but I would say I start to just connect with some Islamic organization in Boston and beyond and ask them, do you know an estimate figure for the Muslim population in math? And this was the giving data, was the data giving to me. So the first thing, Muslim estimated to be approximately 120,000 individual. This based on PAO data, which suggested that Muslim population in America is around 1.4% of the population. I will assume in mass, based on the welcoming nature of the state, I will assume we have more Muslims here in mass other than maybe states in South or so. So I assume that we have more Muslim like individuals in mass above this number. In mass, there are at least 31 mosques, and the largest mosque here in like mass is called the Islamic Society of Boston Cultural Center, and it is located in Roxbury, and it's considered the largest mosque in New England. And this mosque serves the spiritual, educational, social, and cultural needs of the Boston's Muslim community and society at large, while exemplifying excellence and fostering peace. So I think many Muslims, they go to ISBCC, and definitely before COVID, ISBCC used to really welcome around 1,000 plus Muslim daily in Ramadan, every day in Ramadan. Things have been changing since COVID, and we cannot have this kind of numbers, definitely because of social distancing and also safety measures. But I have to tell you, this mosque usually like full during Ramadan before COVID. Let's go to another interesting facts. And also this also was a nice conversation with one of my colleagues around what an educator may expect in a school setting. So you have to expect many things. You may expect some Muslim students who will fast the entire month, others who fast some days, and others who fast half days or none. And I have to tell you, like Muslims are expected to fast once they hit puberty, but before that, it's kind of like practice. So like if they are, I would say 12 years or less, it's just a kind of practice for them. So some families would say, okay, you can fast some days. Some families say you have to fast the entire month to be more strong enough. Some families would say, okay, you don't have to fast. So it's a lot of kind of family choices and preferences, but that's what you need to know and what you need to expect. Student will be kind of tired, definitely for the first 3 days. As an adult, usually I'm tired for the first 2 days. And then after that, I find my body usually get adjusted. It's always like, again, it's transitioning from eating like every single second to you have to abstain from eating and drinking like a lengthy time. So definitely your body needs to adjust, and takes about 1 or 2 days to adjust to the new norm. Students should meet the academic and behavioral expectations all the time. And that's a very important thing, because one of the attendees said that one of her students were using Ramadan as an excuse not to attending school, and that's not the case. Even as I said, for religious beliefs and for our Muslim beliefs, Ramadan is a way to improve in many ways, improve as a human, improve as a Muslim, improve as a student, as a colleague, as a professional. So it's a time where you have to do a lot of self-reflection and to be better in many ways. And also it's a time where we persevere. So that means that we are required by our religion to be better in many ways. So academics and behavioral expectations should be the same, and we should have to meet them all the time. So it's not an excuse, but try again to remind them using a positive and friendly tone around expectations and around academic and behavioral expectations, because you are caring as an educator. It's not about, here we go, this is the rule, and I don't care about your religion. It's about, I'm caring about you, and I know that your religion will reinforce those expectations as well. The next bullet will be, some students may request to pray Dhuhr. That also was one of the bullets that was mentioned here, which also very important to mention. Again, Ramadan is a way to improve. So as Muslim, we pray more in Ramadan. So there's a midday prayer called Zuhr. It's usually happens from noon time to 1 p.m. And you will find some Muslims that will ask you to pray. So you have just to provide them with a private space, and it takes about less than 5 minutes to be performed and done. So you can always plan with your team or principal. If a Muslim student asks for that prayer, you can definitely provide it to them. But again, it's easy, doable, and takes less than 5 minutes. Okay. Some more recommendations that I will always, as an educator, I will always see we can do, and it's easy and doable. At the beginning of the month, which is happening roughly April 12th, I will ask you to maybe days before or the week before announce Ramadan in your weekly update, school newsletter, advisory announcements, with a brief explanation about the month. That's really a showing for respect and understanding and also awareness. A very important, also easy act. You can greet your Muslim student with Ramadan Mubarak. And please remember this phrase. It's very easy. Ramadan Mubarak, which means like Ramadan is a blessing. And we usually, as Muslim, we always say it to one another at the beginning of the month. So it will be great if you can use this phrase with your Muslim student to show them awareness, respect, and caring. Recommended homework, 30 minutes a day. I would say that, and usually that's actually mostly the recommended homework for all students. So it will not make a big change of your homework, schedule or anything. So I would just say, please also no homework over the weekend, because weekend is more time where Muslim students and their families practice prayers more, and they can meet some other families more. So it will be better to avoid assigning homework over weekend. The next one I also will reinforce, which will be positively encourage Muslim students to work hard and meet the expectation all the time. Fasting is not an excuse, but again, try just to use a positive and friendly manner and way and tone when you talk to your Muslim students, colleagues, or families. The last thing is about lunch and recess PE time. And again, providing accommodation, talk to your team, and also talk to the Muslim child around that. Like some of them, they want really to attend PE, which is fine. Some of them want to attend recess, which is fine. But if they choose to opt out, please try to make it a positive and nice experience for them. It's now the Q&A time. And I will ask you, I will actually use Q&A in two forms. If you are more comfortable to write the question on Padlet, I would put a Padlet link here for Q&A. If you are more comfortable to unmute yourself and ask questions, please do so. And Alison will facilitate that. So Alison, could you help in that regard?
I'm sorry, Heba, could you repeat that?
I can hear you now. So I'm happy that people will have the Q&A time, either asking question on Padlet and you answer them, or unmute them. They can also unmute themselves and ask the questions.
Okay, yeah, so if anyone has any questions they want to say verbally, if you could use your hand raise option. So if you don't know where that is, if you just click on the participant option towards the bottom of your screen, you should have some options once you open it, and there's a hand raise, and I'll be calling everyone in chronological order.
Okay, I will start to read the question and answer them. There's a question in the chat, when does Ramadan end? So Ramadan is about either 29 or 30 days. So I will talk about this year. This year, Ramadan roughly starting April 12th. So it will end May 12th, roughly. And after May 12th, it will come May 13 will be our Eid, which is our holiday for only one day. So again, expect this year Ramadan will end on May 12th. There's also another question. Yeah, there's also Alison, there is the raising hand option that's also in a smart way, definitely. Okay, Steve has a very interesting question also and smart question. Do we say Ramadan Mubarak only one time during Ramadan? Do we say it at the beginning of Ramadan or at the beginning of the month? I would say at the beginning of Ramadan, definitely, because usually we greet ourselves Muslim Ramadan Mubarak at the beginning. So Ramadan this year, I will give you an example. Ramadan this year will start on April 12th. So I would say on April 11 or April 10 or April 12 or April 13, just use this phrase when you greet you're Muslim, so you just have to say it once. You don't have to say it a lot. But again, it's just a way where you show them that you understand Ramadan, you are aware that it's happening, and you are respecting their religion. It's a very simple way to show respect, caring, and understanding. Thanks, Steve, for this question. And also thanks, Thais, for the question earlier, and Melaine too. Now, I will also read the question on Padlet. So you can also use the chat to ask question. You can use the Padlet, whatever you feel comfortable. You can raise your hand and Alison will moderate that. Okay, so here's a very interesting question about in teaching Ramadan to elementary students through literacy. What stories, books, what do you recommend? I actually am trying to gather, currently I'm gathering some resources because I have been asked about resources around Ramadan. So I'm really working on this, and I will send all the attendee for this and all the participants for this workshop some resources. I will not promise very soon. I think it could be end of the coming week. Like expect I'm sending that maybe Wednesday or Thursday, some resources that it could be helpful to talk about Ramadan for elementary school level, and you can use it for your literacy time. You can share it also with your colleagues in school. Feel free to share it. So I will be providing you with those resources by the end of the coming week. So there's another question that, correct me if I'm wrong, a few years back, a student was working on a project during Ramadan, which included adding music to a video. She said she was not supposed to listen to music during the day, but her mom said it was okay. Is it true? Is it a rule? No, it's not a rule. Okay, so it's a different interpretation of the religion. Like some families are more strict than others. Some families will say, okay, we are in Ramadan, we have to be perfect and we cannot do 1, 2, 3, including listening to music. Some family will say, okay, it's a project, it's work, we can definitely do the work and it's fine to listen to music as part of the work. So I would say, try to be flexible with some families, because some families we have different views around that piece around music during Ramadan. And I have been facing the same issue in the school, like the music teacher in my building saying some Muslim students, they are not feeling comfortable to doing some music project during Ramadan. So I would ask you to ask them if their family are okay or not. If their family are not okay with doing or listening to music or like doing those kind of projects, try to provide them with other alternatives and maybe making this project they can complete it later on. But if their family say it's okay, like her mom said it's okay, ask her just to do it because it's part of the work. And again, use a positive tone. And since her mom already supporting you and your decision around doing this work. So it's always about trying to accommodate, but trying also to understand the level of comfort from the family, because if the family is okay, the child should be okay, in my opinion. One of the comments, I think.
But there's actually a hand raised from Valerie.
Okay, could you unmute her and then she can ask the question? I'm reading the question here. Okay, thank you. That was very informative, timely. I appreciate it. Thanks for your feedback. There's also, by the way, there's a feedback form that I will ask all of participants to complete. It's just 3 questions. Because I would love to know if you need resources, if you have any feedback for me. Murph is asking, is Ramadan the same if you are from India or Africa and Mid East? Okay, that's a really very interesting question. Thanks, Murph. Yes, Ramadan is happening the same. So all Muslims all over the world are observing Ramadan starting April 12 until May 12. That's happening all over the place. Definitely the time zones will be different. Like we are here fasting in the state in the Northeast, we are starting fasting from 3 a.m. until 7 p.m. every day. It's roughly happening everywhere else, but it will be the same also time frame. Like in Egypt, I'm originally from Egypt. Egypt also, we have 7 hours time difference, but we will also start fasting around 3 a.m. until 7 p.m. around roughly. It could be just little minutes, maybe different, but we are sharing that observation as Muslim all over the world, same time every year, same numbers of fasting hours, roughly. I would say roughly same numbers of fasting hour every year. And definitely the celebration is little different. Like what's the meaning about the celebration? About like when we break fast, like the nature of food is different. Like people eating in India, when they break their fast, the food they are eating is little different than the food that I will be eating in Egypt, is little different than the food I will be eating in the States and so on. And one of the interesting stories that I can talk about that is that I usually, like there are different mosques here in Mass, and those mosques are affiliated with different countries. Like there is a mosque which mainly Indian go or Pakistani go. There's a mosque which mainly Middle Eastern go. And before COVID, I used to go to break my fast in different mosques, different days, because it usually feels different. Like I usually meet different people, like by 7 p.m. we gather and eat together. That's also before COVID. I have just to mention that. Sometimes I go to the mosque, which mainly around Middle Eastern people, and I gather with people who mainly speak in Arabic and eat food. Sometimes I go to the mosque, which mainly affiliated with the Indian, Pakistani culture, and I usually eat so spicy food and just talk in English with them, and we just chat about many different things. Sometimes I go to the mosque, which is mainly affiliated with Afghani or Sudan people. It's just a very interesting how we all can gather, break our fast, and may eat different food and may enjoy the time together. So there's also a question here. What is the best, the question is, what is the best way to approach knowing who is currently fasting? Asking, definitely. Should we even ask or expect? Because ask, definitely ask. You are expected to greet your students. You are expected to make like a very simple announcement. Okay, Ramadan is starting. You can say Ramadan Mubarak to you, and you can definitely approach and ask because you are caring. You want to say, okay, I want to accommodate you this year. Are you planning to fast? What is the best accommodation that you may need? I was thinking of 1, 2, 3 to do. Let me know if you are comfortable with those accommodations. So definitely approaching your Muslim student is a great and smart way to connect and to show awareness, caring, and respect. Another comment, I thank you for this information. I'm going to share it with my team at school. I'm also emailed my principal offer my room as a food, drink, free space for anyone who observes a holy day together, it's a holy month together, and social distancing maintained, so they are not tempted. Okay, lunch blocks are my prep lunch time as well, and I also offer to provide the room. Thanks so much for this. That's actually a great idea and great initiative. Thanks so much. Another question. I'm just reading the questions. I usually play quiet music during work time. Should I avoid that? 4 of my 21 students are Muslims. Okay. I would say ask them. I will definitely would talk again and make connection. Say, okay, I usually, I usually play quiet music. Will that interfere with your practices? Will that annoy you while you are fasting? Let me know because I really want to, I'm caring. I want to accommodate you if I can. So definitely ask them. Like for me as Heba, and I'm Muslim, I would say I'm fine. I usually also play quiet music and relaxing music. But again, some Muslim families have some different interpretation for music specifically. So definitely ask them and see their level of comfort. Could give us more of an understanding of what's behind the restriction? Is it because listen to music? Okay. So this question actually was erased. I didn't read it, but you can definitely post it again or write or type in the chat. If did I miss any questions, Allison? I also want to look at the chat because I was reading the questions on the Padlet.
Yeah, so Valerie's actually been ready to ask her questions. So
Okay, so
whenever you're ready, Valerie, just speak up.
Okay, I have been at my particular school for over 20 years, and I've seen a lot of changes in the way the Cambridge public school system addresses holidays, whether it be Easter, Christmas, etc. And there have been a lot of restrictions. Holidays have been taken away, and we've basically been prohibited from celebrating. So my question has to do with the fact I am an SEI para, and I have a lot of Muslim students, and I have Muslim friends. How do we
the voice is muted. Could you hear? I can hear.
No, I can't hear you, Valerie. Do you mind?
The voice got muted suddenly.
Yeah, but she's not mute. Do you mind just muting and unmuting again? We can hear you. Okay, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So you didn't hear anything that I asked?
Just Muslim friends, and then we lost you there.
So I was saying that I've been at Graham Parks for over 20 years. And over that 20 years, various holidays have been not celebrated because it's of a religious nature. I teach SEI, I have Muslim students, and I have a lot of Muslim friends. My question is, how do I proactively, positively promote the religious needs of my students while not offending other students whose religions have not been allowed, who have not been allowed to celebrate over the years, because we don't celebrate Easter, we don't celebrate Christmas, we don't celebrate other things. And how do we reconcile this in a positive way?
Sure. So I would say definitely Ramadan is not a holiday. That's number one. So it's just an observation. So you don't have to highlight it as a holiday. It's a practice. So you just have, as I mentioned, to mention Ramadan, that some of our students will be fasting this month, and you explain what's fasting. It's just educational thing, educational, like I would say practice that you can explain it. Again, we are not celebrating Ramadan. We are observing Ramadan, which is the good thing. It's again about just the nature. Just try to explain to your maybe students the nature of the month and how their peers will perform during this month. And with the Muslim student, you will just talk to them friendly around the accommodation that you can provide. You don't have, if you have restriction around just mentioning like holidays or mentioning like more around the practice or observation, you don't have to mention that. But again, it's about also connecting with those Muslim students one-to-one and explain that you are there for them. If they need help, you will talk to them around accommodations, because that's really a very crucial part. And definitely when you are talking with this positive tone, they will feel that you are caring, respecting, and also understanding the nature of the month. So that's one way my recommendation. You don't have to make a big deal about it, but you have to explain it so other peers will have this kind of respect to what their peers are going through, like fasting and some of the other things that's happening, and talk about it as an educational part of that I would say academic environment and about the school, because I know every single school is required to show respect to religions and to different cultures. So you are just showing respect, and you are explaining briefly to other peers to have the same, to show the same respect. Okay. Any other questions? I also look in the chat, and I'm reading the question about the music and restriction. So the question is it because listening to music is considered, I would say, I would just talk about music because there are various views about listening to music around Muslims. Some of them said it's not okay, and some of them say it's okay. So I would say it's usually talk to the child and their families and see their own inputs, because as I said, I'm Heba, I'm Muslim, and I'm practicing my religion, but I'm listening to music. And I may have some students who said, no, Miss Heba, we cannot listen to music, which is fine, because we are still different. There are still differences within the same religion. So the best way to address that is just talk directly to the child. And again, when you talk, it's about showing respect, caring, and understanding. So no judgments at all. I will also, I'm still reading some questions from the chat. I don't want to miss any questions. I usually play quiet music. We are done with this question. I hope it was helpful answer. It's nice story to promote, not to just for them, but to introduce possible accommodations to school step if they have not previously have been thinking about it. Definitely, that's a great idea. You want to know, and things vary day by day, especially for the young women, letting your classes know they can come to you, whether in month in general is a good way to keep the topic fluid. Yes, definitely. About music, we talk about music, and I hope the music piece is clear. Again, ask the students and family directly. You will have some kind of variation around this topic in general, because it happened in my school, and I talked to some Muslim students in my school, and I found they have different variation, different opinion. So it's fine. We are all different. I always make it okay, even within the same religion, within the same community, you will have different opinions. So just make it again. It's not a big deal. If they make that choice, give them an alternative in this case. If they are fine with this, it's fine with everyone. Heba highlights a magical part, knowing that you are fasting in solidarity with over a billion people of different culture and language around the world at the same time is super empowering, uniting. Yes, that's true. That's my feeling all the time during Ramadan. I have a kindergarten student whose family will celebrate Ramadan. I assume she won't be fasting, but how would I think she would be observing the holiday? Best to ask her parents. Um, Definitely ask her parents, because you want to make some school parent connection, which is part of our work. Just show them that you know that Ramadan is coming. Ramadan Mubarak. Use the greeting with the child and parents. Ramadan Mubarak, and the best way that you want me to accommodate your child. I don't think she will be fasting, but again, just to talk to her about Ramadan. What did you do today during maybe breaking like iftar or breaking time? Like just mention that once in a while with her, to know that you are really interested in the topic in the month, and you are really showing her that you understand and aware the nature of the month. But I'm not assuming she will be fasting. And even if she will be fasting, maybe 1 or 2 hours. Like some families, some kids, usually they are inspired by parents and they want to really fast like them. So they will just practice fasting for an hour or two. And that may be the case, or maybe she will not fast because she's so young. She's not even required to fast in this age. Hi, Heba, I think Valerie, okay. Okay, we have answered this question. I usually play some mindfulness type music. Yes, that's my case. I'm a big fan of mindfulness time music and relaxing music. And if any students, not even Muslims, say, okay, Miss Heba, we don't like this music, we have some restriction or religious restriction, I will just stop it. So similarly, I will say, ask your Muslim student, is it okay if you feel they are not comfortable? I will ask you not to use it during the month of Ramadan. But in my opinion, most of them will be comfortable listening to the mindfulness time music because it's fine. But again, some Muslim will have some restriction about music, and we want to accept all the differences and without making a big deal of it. Okay, Christine said, thank you. Thank you for all the great information. Thank you. I have to leave. I want to just, before people leaving, because I need this important information. If you need any resources, if you need from me any resources or extra or more more information, please, I want you to, or even a quick feedback, I would love you to fill up this kind of quick survey. There are only 3 questions. So please, feedback is really important for me. If you also need any resources, please mention in the form the resources, the type of the resources that you may need from me. And also, you will have my contact info. Here is my email. Here you go. It is also on the screen. That's my email address. I will also paste in the chat. And Allison also will send you a follow-up email end of the week with my contact info and any resources that I will compile for you. So please, I would love you for the coming maybe 3 minutes or less to just complete this form. I'm so happy to meet you today. I know it's outside, it's very sunny and outside, and I would love you to just enjoy the rest of your day in such sunny and wonderful weather. Thanks everyone for coming today and for all your creative ideas and smart ideas.